Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Fixed on Jesus. This is the podcast that is hosted at Center Church in Gilbert, Arizona. It's run by members of Center Church, for members of Center Church. And my name is Rich. And as always, I'm joined by Mark Johnson Jr. just across the table.
Hello, Rich.
And Heather Corbitt behind, not just behind the glass, but behind the camera now.
Oh, you saw the wave.
The wave is there. And we're actually joined today by a very special guest, Mark Converti. How you doing, Mark?
Good to be with you.
Glad to have you for sure. Our legion of fans are excited to be able to hear your story.
Yes.
And so we wanted to invite you here to just tell, you're our longest running church member, having gotten to this church in 1978, you told me before. So before we get into that story, maybe tell us about your family, your background, how you got saved.
Well, I was born in the Valley. I was born actually in Mesa, and have lived my whole life in the Valley.
Did you grow up in the East Valley after you were born in Mesa?
No, my mother actually was a student at what is now Arizona State University. She had me on her graduation day.
Oh, wow.
And shortly thereafter, we moved to North Phoenix, and that's where I grew up,
Okay.
actually, was in North Phoenix.
What passed for North Phoenix back then?
Well, our street was the northern limit of Phoenix at that time. That was Glendale Avenue.
That's not North Phoenix now.
No, Glendale was a dirt road. I remember clearly, and behind our neighborhood was desert. So, yeah, it's the middle of Phoenix now. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but there's not many people who can say that they're Valley natives, but you are.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Family-wise, my father was born in Italy in 1925. He lasted through World War II, came to America shortly after. I won't go into detail about his story, which is amazing, but he ended up coming as a student to the University of Arizona in Tucson.
So he went to Tucson.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where he met my mother, who was living in Tucson with her parents. Her father was a professor at the U of A, and they ended up living next door to each other.
Really?
Is how they met. And one thing led to another. They got married. A few years later, my dad became a citizen of the United States, and he moved to Phoenix to work for Arizona Public Service, which is where he was for 38 years, I believe.
So APS,
Yes.
which runs electricity on the west side.
It's in central Phoenix mostly, and central Arizona mostly.
Okay.
And it shares the area with Salt River Project.
Okay. What did he study in school?
Engineering. He was an electrical engineer, and that ended up being what I pursued as well years later. So he worked. That was his first job out of college. He worked his entire working life there, and he retired after about 38 years.
Wow.
Mark, I heard that, just doing some research, that your dad helped build a lot of the modern day power grid here through his work at APS. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, if you drive up through, like from Phoenix up towards northern Arizona, you're going to pass underneath a lot of giant electrical wires that are strung among giant poles for miles and miles. That's the handiwork of his team.
Okay.
Wow.
They
Did they pull wires from Page?
yes, because there's a generating station
Yeah.
in the Page area. Also, there was one up on the Navajo Indian Reservation, which has been deactivated recently.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, that was his expertise was electrical distribution. That's what he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, talk about, like, how many siblings do you have?
I'm the oldest of 4. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
Okay. And then what was the spiritual life like in your home, in the converting home? What was that like?
Well, it was, I guess the best way to say it is it was dark. My father was raised as a Catholic, and
An Italian Catholic's different than like an American
yes,
Catholic.
it's hardcore, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
His teachers were Jesuits.
So Jesuit, what does that mean, Mark? Do you know what that word means? Do not look on the computer.
No, but I've heard conspiracy theories.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it's
an order.
It's the order. It's an order of like monk or Dominic.
Yeah.
Like, so there's Dominicans and Augustinians, and the Jesuits were the hardcore of the Catholic folks that came after the Reformation. So
Right.
they were part of the Counter-Reformation. So your dad grew up under the influence of the Jesuits.
And but I did mention that he met and married my mother.
Right.
My mother was not a Catholic. She converted to Catholicism to get married to him. But about 5 years or so afterwards, she just couldn't take the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And as a couple, they decided to leave
Really?
and pursue other things spiritually.
Wow.
So by the time I was old enough to know anything, we were not really going to a specific church. As a matter of fact, it looked to me as if we were visiting every church, every kind of church there was in the valley, whether Christian or non-Christian,
Really?
to just discover what they had to offer. And so that was kind of my spiritual upbringing.
So they were really searching.
They were really searching, and at a certain point, they dropped me and my brother off at a Congregationalist church in North Phoenix.
Did they let you vote as a kid?
No,
Oh, okay.
but they let us learn the Bible,
Okay.
learn their process for what they called confirmation.
Yep.
And so that would be the kind of spiritual upbringing I had
Okay.
through the end of high school.
But your parents weren't involved in that church?
No, they weren't. They kept searching, and then they finally just stayed home, and it looked like they gave up when it came to pursuing spiritual things, yeah.
Okay.
Mark, can I ask, reflecting on that experience, do you think your parents were searching for the spiritual aspect or some of the social pressure in that day of wanting to be, like, religion was viewed from what we understand as good? And look, were they trying to just be a part of the culture, or were they genuinely concerned with the state of their soul?
That's a very good question. It seemed like a personal quest to me.
Yeah.
That they were trying to find meaning. My father still had an education in religious things through his Catholic upbringing, and I think that is something that he wanted to continue.
Yeah.
My mother would have been more Protestant in her upbringing, but once again, I think they were looking for spiritual fulfillment.
Yeah.
That they knew that there was something missing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Would they have? Do you think they would have considered themselves Christians at that point?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. They were a little uncertain.
They were uncertain.
Okay, and we're gonna get into your conversion.
Yeah, what happened? Did you get saved at the Congregational Church, Mark?
No, well, I don't think so. I would say this: I felt religious.
Yeah.
I felt like it was, momentous. It was significant. I felt like when I went there, I was doing something good.
Yeah.
Being amongst other people, saying that we were following God. But a number of things happened at that church that made me question whether or not it was really a valid or true form of religion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is a long story, but let me try to just
Well, that's what
quickly
we're here
say-
for. We're here for it.
Well, to put it in a few words, when I was in high school, and I belonged to their youth group,
Yeah.
the youth pastors plural, were doing some very interesting things that I was wondering. That confused me basically.
Were they handling snakes?
No, they weren't doing that.
Okay, good. Well, that's
But-
good they weren't doing that. But
They were
what they
also
doing?
searching through the whole world of religion to find meaning in different religions.
Oh, wow.
The Congregationalists are supposed to be a Protestant denomination.
Yeah,
They're
right.
supposed to be.
Very much.
But I found out later that they tended towards modernism,
Okay.
which more or less devalues the divinity of Christ.
Right.
But this the youth pastor, wanted to explore Eastern religions, and he wanted to explore spiritualism. I remember very clearly once they invited an individual from a local group that was a clairvoyant
Really? To a
And-
youth meeting.
at a youth meeting.
We should make sure Frank's not doing that in our center.
I actually don't know what a clairvoyant is.
It's somebody who reads you,
Oh,
saying that he has some kind of spiritual insight
okay.
into you as a person,
Okay.
It's
to your
Like
past,
a necromancer?
no, that's speaking to the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A clairvoyant, it's demonic, all the same.
yeah.
Okay.
It's basically just trying to tell you who you are, kind of a prophetic utterance, if you will, to tell you who you are now, what you may be in the future.
From the wrong side.
Well, there's like some of them read palms, some of them use tarot
Tarot
cards.
cards. Okay.
So this guy went around the room reading people,
Oh my god!
and for some reason he hopped over me, which
He didn't read you.
no, he didn't read me.
Okay.
God's
he-
elect.
But he said interesting things to different people, and then he left. And that, of course, generated a lot of discussion. Later, they did things like, it was popular in that time for people to talk about Buddhism
Yeah.
and to interpret popular songs of the era,
Yeah.
like Simon and Garfunkel's "Bridge Over Troubled Water," which is kind of
Yeah.
a musical description of a passage in Buddhist scripture, as I understand it.
That's what
And,
I've heard. Yeah.
Anyway,
Did they interpret Puff the Magic Dragon?
no, not that one.
Okay, because we all know what that means, right, Mark?
Me?
Mark Johnson definitely knows what that means.
This
does.
sounds like those records that you talked about that you play backwards. and
Mark
they're
knows
demonic.
all. Mark
I know.
Converti knows
We're gonna
all
get into
about,
music.
No, we're not getting into backmasking. Remember all that, Mark, in the 80s?
Well, I mean, at the time we were in the '60s,
Yeah, right. But in the 80s,
in the '70s.
we did backmasking. Remember that?
Right. Yeah, I remember backmasking. But anyway, to just kind of wrap it up, the youth pastor would bring all these different influences in, like we were on some kind of a spiritual quest, and which just kind of added to the confusion. Finally, he brought in a couple of born-again believers.
Finally.
Yes.
He did.
Which was a very interesting session, because here are these two scrawny-looking guys dressed up in what I would call the Jesus freak uniform,
Yeah, what is that?
which
Tell
was
us.
Levi's
Okay.
Levi shirts, vests, and pants, of course, with little crosses everywhere
Okay. On the vest?
on the vests. Yeah. One of the guys brought in an enormous Bible and laid it on the lectern in front of us, and I don't remember too much of what he said, except at the end he read scripture, then he closed it up, and he looked around the room and he said, basically, if you don't believe this, you're all going to hell. And they left. And that, of course, disturbed everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So much so that the senior pastor of the church asked to meet with the youth group the very next day, which was Sunday,
Really?
after the normal meeting. And he tried to explain what had just happened with these quote-unquote born-again people, that they had, that he had, as a young man, grown up in what he called a fundamentalist, Orthodox Christian faith, and that it was only when he went to college and studied higher criticism
Yes.
and some of the other stuff that he ran into at seminary
He went and got educated.
that he began to realize that that things weren't quite the way that he thought they were. And then he described his own faith, which is basically modernistic.
Yeah, right. Let's push pause right there just to explain some of the time frame for people, because like today, I think this is fair to say, Mark, you can tell me, but today, born again is synonymous for Christian. It's one and the same. In that day, it was not. Like, you could be a good Christian person without talking about, at least culturally in the U.S., without talking anything about conversion or a change or trusting in Christ. You go to church and you're just assumed to be a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. And so the born-again kind of identity comes during the Jesus movement, right? Mm-hmm. And it's people who experience a new birth, and it has nothing to do with their ecclesiological understanding or whatever. They just experience Jesus, right? And they're born again, right? That's what it was like?
Yes, that's what these guys claim to be. They claim to be born-again Christians, which they had to explain to us meant that they believed in the inerrancy and plain language of Scripture, especially around the person of Jesus Christ, and that their belief was real simple. They preached the gospel. They preached what they knew to be the gospel.
Now, just real quick, higher criticism. Do you know what that is, Mark Johnson?
A little bit. I asked you about it before, but it's been a while.
Yeah. So higher criticism it was real popular at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th.
Spurgeon addressed it too.
Yeah, right.
That's where I read it.
So it's the idea that the Bible as we have it is definitely not inerrant. It's not all legitimate. It's not original. There's a lot of parts that shouldn't be in there. And so there were scholars that would go through the scriptures, especially the New Testament, and say, this is probably not legitimate, and take sections like that. And so there were whole fields of scholarly exploration that would basically undermine the scriptures. And this is well before all the manuscript evidence has been discovered since then. So like when it flourished in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, a lot of the manuscript evidence hadn't come to light yet.
Right.
Now we have a whole host of manuscript evidence that has come to light that shows the scriptures that we have, the 66 books of the Bible, 37 Old, 29 New. We see that what we have in the scriptures is what was written down originally.
So even more confirmation.
Way more confirmation. Yeah. But back then, that evidence didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so people threw shade on it, which is what his
pastor at the time.
Well, it was popular in a lot of churches to deny. So like that, I don't know if this is the way it was there, but they would deny the resurrection of Christ. They would say, yeah, he died, but as an example, it was not there was nothing about the power of gospel change. It was really, let's be good people and follow the sacrificial example of Jesus. Was that what it was like?
The way that the pastor put it was that he didn't believe that Jesus was active in the believer's life after he came the first time.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that when he would come again, there would be a second coming. But in between that period of when he died and rose to heaven and he came back, he wasn't really involved in the day-to-day life of Christians or anybody else.
Right.
He called it like winding up a clock and letting it run.
It's deism is what that's called, friends.
Okay. So
very popular in the past. Yes.
So your two on fire, Jesus freak Christians came in and told you the truth, and then the pastor who had poor theology came back around and tried to correct them.
Tried to bring everybody back down.
Did it calm everybody down?
I think it did briefly, but I think people like me, there was a big question mark from that point on. And a few other things happened at that year at that church, which was my senior year in high school, that led me to believe that I really wasn't aligned personally with what was going on. One was a trip that the youth group took up north, which included not just the people that were going to the church at that time, but also a bunch of my friends from my high school.
Oh, yeah?
Central High in Phoenix.
Okay.
I found out when we arrived that people had been planning ahead for this trip
Okay.
by buying
Praying
large quantities of
Praying.
drugs.
Oh, okay. Not prayer and
No.
notebooks and making sure everybody had Bibles.
Yeah,
They brought drugs.
Not communion alcohol, just
within a few hours of showing up at where we ended up meeting, which was another church in Flagstaff,
Okay.
my fellow students began breaking out lots of interesting drugs that they brought with them. Popular during the day were like LSD
Oh, wow.
and marijuana, not so much cocaine and the others, but basically lots of pills. And one by one, these people started to take them and go off on little trips.
I bet they did, yeah.
Yeah, and
They didn't go to just a Flagstaff, did they?
no,
different kinds of trips.
they tried to climb the foothills and around
Oh, I'm sure.
the mountains in Flagstaff while under the influence. And I was fairly innocent about all this kind of stuff. I didn't take drugs. I didn't hang around with people that did. And I was very shocked to see that my fellow youth church members were partaking as liberally as they were with all this stuff.
Gotcha.
When the trip was over, the entire youth staff was fired.
Good.
But at that point, I decided, at the end of high school, I'm leaving my high school, and I'm also leaving this church because there's nothing here I want. Mm-hmm. There's nothing here that I would want to emulate, and so that kind of marked the beginning of my spiritual journey.
That sounds like some common grace on your life. You at that point
Yeah.
you weren't a Christian, but you still knew what the wrong way was,
Right.
and it was staying where you were at.
Mark was not Christian, but he was against acid
Yeah.
trips.
I was not.
Yeah.
Not you.
Went
I'm
down-
talking
well-
to this
Oh,
Mark.
this Mark? Oh, okay. You were looking at me.
Yeah.
I went the other way.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I didn't smoke, didn't really drink, and I definitely didn't take drugs. And so I had very little in common with these people. And so I went off to college, basically, and
To ASU, right?
first to Phoenix College for a couple of years,
Okay.
and then eventually to ASU. And that's kind of where you could say I began to notice the absence of anything really spiritual in my life.
Okay.
It was kind of a gulf inside of me that kept getting bigger and bigger all the time. And I met a lot of interesting people. I was preached to half a dozen times by the Christians of the day, which were mostly Jesus people
With their uniforms.
with their uniforms.
Long hair and beards, right?
Yeah, and or other things. And I was preached to at both Phoenix College and ASU by, I think it was could be Campus Crusade at that
Yeah,
time.
sure.
And but it didn't register at that moment. It took until the end of my first semester at ASU when I just realized, I was in kind of a desperate place. I don't know whether it was because I wasn't doing well with my studies or I was just increasingly anxious about not having a purpose
Yeah.
in my life. And at that point, I think that's when God began to put things in my path. I saw a book lying on my best friend's dorm room table one day. It was called "Satan is Alive and Well on Planet Earth," which was a follow-up book.
That's a title right there.
By Hal Lindsey.
Hal Lindsey, yeah.
Who had written Late Great Planet Earth.
Have you heard of Hal Lindsey, Mark?
No.
Heather had. No?
Yeah.
Late Great, it was a phenomena, especially Late Great Planet Earth.
Yeah. Well, this book in particular, I took it kind of home to me to my dorm room and read it until midnight that night. Read it cover to cover, and at the end of the book, which was basically telling story after story about people who thought they were believers,
Yeah.
but instead followed the devil, if you will, and into the occult and all kinds of different things, to the point where Hal came along, and in his case, and helped people see the light and see that they've been following the devil. At the end of this book, I think it was chapter 13 of all things,
Of course, yeah.
is a prayer.
Oh.
And the prayer was basically a prayer of confession of sin and asking Jesus to come into your heart and save you.
Excellent.
And so I prayed that prayer, and I remember feeling as though a weight had lifted off of me.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant, to be honest. I knew that something had happened, but to be honest, for the next 4 years that it took for me to complete my education, I did not really pursue other Christians. I didn't pursue going to church. I didn't read the Bible. I didn't do any of those spiritual things
Sure.
that you really
Yeah,
should do
right, yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
are a true believer. And so it wasn't until 4 years later, which is now the summer of 1978, that once again God began to do some things in my life. And in particular, I was, at the same time I was studying engineering, I was also part of the ASU Symphony Orchestra, playing my cello, which is something I had done since grade school. It wasn't something I was doing for credit either. Music was just kind of a release,
Yeah.
a hobby. It was like a way to satisfy myself emotionally.
Sure. Yeah.
And what I didn't know is that there were people in that orchestra that were saved and that had noticed me and were praying for me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Isn't God's providence amazing? I look forward to hearing more of Mark's story in the next episode on Fixed on Jesus. Thank you for joining us, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at production@centergilbert.com.